apple pies and anxious hearts. Cinnamon's spicy sweet redolence permeated the kitchen, a fragrant shield against the encroaching autumn chill. Sarah, a seasoned baker, measured flour, the metallic rasp of the scoop, a familiar counterpoint to the quiet morning. 6 pies were needed. 6 perfectly browned, apple cinnamon beacons to draw the churchgoers after the service. Each apple, as she pared its skin, held a buried reminiscence. Granny Smith's, Tom's beloved variety. He'd hug her from behind, pilfering slices and earning a playful reprimand. Quality assurance, love, he'd murmur, his breath warm against her hair. She squeezed her eyes shut, the memory wavering as a surge of sorrow threatened to drown her. With a sharp, almost hostile twist, she dispatched the apple cores, the pungent tang a momentary rival to cinnamon's saccharine embrace. 22 years. The ghost of that wound still throbbed in her chest, a persistent, dull reminder of the void. The phone's jangling shriek sliced through the kitchen's gentle cadence, an unwelcome intrusion that froze Sarah's hand mid-slice. It would be Mrs. Henderson, no doubt, confirming service times, or Pastor Miller, offering empty comforts. Well-meaning words that felt like lemon juice on a paper cut. She let it ring, yielding to the answering machine. Silence then descended, heavy and uneasy. Such quiet amplified the absence, the chasm Tom had left. 22 years ago, it was the ringing that resonated most in her memory. His cell, unanswered, each unanswered vibration a hammer blow to her dwindling hope. She poured the spiced apple mixture into the awaiting pastry shells, the bowl's heft a grounding force. Focus. For Emily. For herself. Emily, her radiant daughter. Tom's enduring legacy. Raising her solo had been a trial by fire. Some nights, gazing upon Emily's sleeping form, she'd question her capabilities. Could she ever truly fill the paternal void, be both mother and father? She crimped the pie edges with a fork, each indentation a deliberate act of regaining control. She must be strong. Especially today. Emily still wrestled with shadows, fragmented memories, a lingering sense of what she'd lost despite her tender age when tragedy struck. The oven's buzzer dragged Sarah back. She slid the pies into the heated interior, warmth blooming on her face. A meager solace, this creative act. A means to transmute grief, reshaping it into something tangible, nourishing. She noted the calendar. September 11th. A date branded onto her soul, the day her world fractured. The day the world changed. She loathed the public spectacle of grief that swirled around this date. The endless loops of collapsing towers. The raw interviews. It felt exploitative. A constant picking at a scab that refused to heal. She preferred to hold on to Tom through the small, unnoticed moments. His perpetual habit of leaving the milk carton empty. His goofy grin upon mastering a new dish. His off-key humming in the garden. She retrieved a time-worn photograph from beneath her recipe cards. Tom, grinning, arms slung around her shoulders, Emily perched playfully atop his. They were on the beach, sunlight dancing on the waves. Unadulterated joy shone from the image, a glimpse of a life stolen too soon. She traced Tom's face, a silent conversation bridging the years. "We miss you dreadfully," she whispered, her voice thick. "Every single day." The rich fragrance of baking apples intensified, suffusing the kitchen with comfort. She inhaled deeply, seeking the echo of his laughter, his warmth, his love. But the silence persisted, broken only by the clock's measured ticking, a relentless march forward that seemed to leave her and her sorrow behind. The unopened voicemails. The old phone lay nestled in a shoebox beneath a pile of Emily's outgrown dance costumes. Sarah blew a puff of dust off the box, the particles dancing in the weak afternoon light filtering through the attic window. She hadn't been up here in months, maybe years. The air hung thick and still, smelling of mothballs and forgotten dreams. The phone itself was a dinosaur, a bulky, brick-like thing compared to the sleek rectangles everyone carried now. Its once vibrant blue casing was faded and scratched. The screen, a mosaic of cracks, barely illuminated when she pressed the power button. A low battery warning blinked ominously. Why had she kept it? She knew why. Carefully, she navigated the cracked screen, her thumb clumsy and hesitant. The phone was a time capsule, a relic from a life that felt both intimately familiar and impossibly distant. Contacts scrolled past: Mom, Dad, Carol, Emily's daycare. And then Tom. Just his name, stark and simple. No photo, no frills. Just Tom. The voicemail icon pulsed, a mocking reminder. 37 unheard messages. 37 ghosts whispering from the past. Most were probably junk, automated reminders from the dentist or forgotten appointment confirmations. But some were different. Her breath hitched. She knew which one. She scrolled slowly, deliberately, past messages from Carol about book club, her mom checking in after Emily's first soccer game, a wrong number from someone looking for Tony. Each name was a small stab, a reminder of the life that continued, the life Tom had missed. Then it was there. September 11, 2001. 9:58 a.m. Tom Miller. Her fingers trembled. She hadn't listened to it. Not once. Not in all these years. A wave of nausea washed over her, the memory of that day, a relentless, agonizing loop in her mind. The frantic calls, the busy signals, the growing sense of dread that coiled tighter and tighter in her stomach. She remembered pacing the kitchen, Emily, a toddler then, tugging at her legs, oblivious to the terror that gripped her mother's heart. Flashback: the phone in her hand had been sleek and new then, a symbol of their upward mobility, their bright future. Now, the memory of its cool plastic against her ear felt like a burn. She'd called Tom's office at Cantor Fitzgerald, over and over, each unanswered ring a hammer blow to her hope. "I'm sorry, all circuits are busy. Please try your call again later." The robotic voice, so devoid of emotion, was seared into her memory. She tried Carol, her voice tight with forced calm. "He's probably just stuck in a meeting, Sarah. You know how he is. Always running late." But Sarah knew. She felt it in her bones. A cold, creeping certainty that defied logic or reason. She'd seen the smoke on television, a plume of black against the clear blue sky. She'd told herself it was another tower, a different building. She'd clung to that sliver of denial with desperate ferocity. Then the second plane hit. And the calls stopped going through altogether. Just silence. A deafening, terrifying silence. And flashback: her hand tightened around the old phone. The cracked screen pressed into her palm, a dull ache that mirrored the ache in her heart. What was on that voicemail? A final goodbye? A message of love? A plea for help? The thought of hearing his voice, his real voice, after all this time. It was too much. She couldn't. But she also couldn't keep ignoring it. It was a loose thread, a dangling participle in the story of her life. Until she confronted it, she couldn't truly move on. Could she? With a shaky breath, she pressed the play button. Nothing. The battery icon flashed red, then the screen went black. Dead. Relief washed over her, followed by a sharp pang of disappointment. She was spared. But only for now. She fumbled with the phone, trying to turn it back on, willing it to cooperate. Maybe if she plugged it in. The phone slipped from her grasp, landing with a soft thud on the dusty attic floor. The battery popped out, rolling under a pile of fabric scraps. Sarah stared at the broken phone, a wave of despair washing over her. It was a sign, wasn't it? A sign that some things were best left untouched, buried in the past. But as she knelt on the floor, searching for the battery, she knew she was only postponing the inevitable. The voicemail was there, waiting. And one day, she would have to listen. A helping hand. The lingering fragrance of cinnamon rolls, Sarah's go-to comfort offering, permeated the church hall. Folding chairs were stacked, tables collapsed. A low post-event murmured the soundtrack to the cleanup. Near the refreshment table, Sarah feigned rearranging leftover paper cups, grasping at anything to forestall the inevitable. Her phone felt like a chunk of granite in her pocket. "Those rolls were heaven," a voice chirped. Sarah jumped, nearly scattering a pile of napkins. A young woman, all sparkling eyes and a bouncy flaxen ponytail, beamed. Emily, volunteer, read the tag on her sweater. Oh, thanks, Sarah managed, her voice raspy. Glad you enjoyed them. Emily pointed to the small device Sarah had placed on the table's edge. Is that a StarTAC? Wow, haven't seen one of those in ages. My grandma's still rocking a flip phone, but even she graduated from that relic. Sarah's fingers tightened on the tablecloth's edge. She bristled at the term, relic, applied to anything from that era. It felt dismissive, a cheap shot. It was my. She hesitated, groping for the right words. Someone dear to me used to own it. Emily's smile softened. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to be nosy. I'm just a bit of a tech geek. We're trying to digitize the church's old records, you know, backing them up to the cloud and all that. Keep them safe from decay. Sarah offered a slow nod, her gaze locked on the phone. Sensing Sarah's withdrawal, Emily retreated. Anyway, I'm Emily. And I was wondering if you'd like, I could probably extract any voicemails off that thing. Before the battery gives up the ghost, or something. It's surprisingly straightforward. We have all the adapters and software set up in the back. The proposition hung in the air, deceptively simple. Extract the voicemails. Preserve them. It sounded so reasonable, so secure. Yet, a tidal wave of panic surged through Sarah. Each voicemail was a phantom limb, a cherished memory she had carefully entombed. To exhume them, to render them permanent, felt like desecration. I don't know. Sarah breathed, barely audible. I'm not sure it's necessary. Emily cocked her head, a crease forming between her brows. It's really no bother. We can save them as MP3s, put them on a thumb drive, even upload them to secure online storage if you like. It's a lot safer than relying on the phone's internal memory. Plus, you could easily share them with your family, should you want to. Share them. The thought sent a shiver down Sarah's spine. These weren't just any messages. One was from Tom. From that day. It's just complicated, Sarah stammered, avoiding Emily's earnest gaze. She worried a fraying thread on the tablecloth. Those messages are very private. Emily's tone gentled. I understand. But consider this. Technology crumbles. Memories, they can fade as well. This way, you'd keep them safe forever. And you wouldn't have to worry about them disappearing. The prospect of losing them was, ironically, the one thing that almost broke her resolve. The idea of Tom's voice vanishing forever, like smoke in the wind, was excruciating. But hearing it again. I appreciate the offer, Emily, Sarah said, forcing a strained smile. But I think I'd prefer to just hang on to it for now. She cradled the phone, clutching it tightly. Perhaps another time. Emily didn't press, but her kind eyes telegraphed her concern. Okay, she said softly. But if you have a change of heart, you know where to find me. I'm usually here Tuesdays and Thursdays. She jotted her number on a napkin and offered it to Sarah. Just give me a shout. Sarah accepted the napkin, a lump forming in her throat. Thank you, she repeated, turning and making a beeline for the exit. The sugary scent of cinnamon rolls, once a source of comfort, now felt cloying, oppressive. She needed open air. She needed to escape the well-intentioned but unwavering cheer of Emily, and the crushing weight of the decision before her. The phone smoldered in her pocket, a silent, insistent echo of a past she could never truly escape. A warning and a promise. Sarah's gaze was fixed on Emily beneath the stark buzz of the church hall lights. The younger woman's usually vibrant eyes were dimmed by a hesitant concern. Silence descended, broken only by the muted thrum of the refrigerator. All right, Sarah conceded, the syllables snagging in her throat. Her fingers grazed the familiar plastic of the StarTAC. It felt remarkably dense, a weighty totem of bygone days in her palm. Okay, you can have a shot. Relief blossomed across Emily's face, chasing away the worry. Really? Oh, Sarah, that's incredible. I swear I'll be meticulous. And if it's a bust, no skin off your nose, right? Sarah managed a wan smile. Right. No harm, no foul. A lie she knew. The past always left its mark, disturbing the sediment of what was gone. Offering the phone, she paused, retracting it a fraction. There's something you should know. Her voice dropped to a near inaudible murmur. Emily tilted forward, her youthful face a canvas of empathy. Anything. What's up? Sarah hesitated, her eyes tracing a fault line in the linoleum. A stall, a moment to compose herself. How to convey the immensity of this single voicemail, the years of grief compressed into a few fragile seconds of Tom's voice. There's a message, she began, a tremor betraying her forced control. From Tom. The impact resonated instantly. Emily's eyes widened, her breath catching audibly. The very air seemed to solidify, thick with unspoken feeling. From September 11th. Sarah finished, the date a raw, jagged shard between them. Emily remained quiet, allowing Sarah space to gather her scattered thoughts, offering a comforting squeeze of her hand. Sarah's gaze met hers, pleading. Emily, listen to the others, whatever else might be lurking on there. But this one, the one from Tom. Her voice fractured, tears pricking at her eyes. She blinked them back fiercely, ashamed of the sudden crack in her composure. Swallowing hard, she struggled to steady herself. Please, Emily. Promise you won't listen to it. Please, just don't. The words were wrenched from her, a desperate, naked entreaty. This wasn't simply about privacy. It was about safeguarding something sacred, a lifeline that had sustained her through years of agonizing loss. The eagerness faded from Emily's features, replaced by a profound understanding. She saw the raw, unhealed wound etched on Sarah's face, the burden of remembrance she shouldered. Her earlier enthusiasm evaporated, displaced by genuine compassion. Sarah, she said softly, her voice imbued with earnestness. I get it. I promise you. I won't touch it. I swear. Whatever else is on there, that one is just for you. She squeezed Sarah's hand again, a firm, reassuring pressure. I promise I won't. I'll flag it or something, so I know to skip right over it. You have my word. Sarah scrutinized Emily's face, searching for any flicker of doubt, any hint of pretense. Seeing only unwavering empathy and deep respect for her pain, she nodded slowly, placing her trust in the younger woman's vow. Thank you? Sarah breathed, the words laced with profound gratitude. Thank you, Emily. You can't imagine how much that means. Finally, she relinquished the phone. It felt strange, severing this tangible connection to Tom, even temporarily. A precious, fragile fragment of him was now in someone else's keeping. Emily accepted the device with reverence. Don't fret, Sarah. I'll treasure it. I'll be exceedingly careful. I'll get this done and back to you practically before you know it. She stowed the phone in her bag, handling it as if it were a priceless relic. When do you anticipate? Sarah started, then trailed off, unsure if she truly wanted to know. I can dive in tonight, Emily offered, sensing Sarah's uncertainty. I have some bandwidth. I'll ping you as soon as I have something solid. And relax, I'll back everything up, just in case of catastrophe. Sarah nodded again, a nascent smile gracing her lips. Emily's competence was a balm, even as the prospect of hearing any of the voicemails stirred a deep unease within her. As Emily turned to go, Sarah called out softly, Emily? Emily glanced back, her expression inquisitive. Sarah hesitated, then simply said, Be careful. A simple phrase, yet laden with unspoken significance. Be gentle with my memories, be gentle with my heart. Be gentle with Tom. Emily nodded, her gaze meeting Sarah's with keen understanding. I will be, Sarah. I promise you that. She turned and departed, leaving Sarah alone in the echoing hall with the specters of yesterday. The unintended broadcast. The air inside St. Michael's was thick with reverence. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, painting colorful mosaics on the pews. Sarah sat near the back, clutching a tissue, the scent of lilies heavy in the air. Pastor Michael O'Connell stood at the altar, his voice calm and resonant as he welcomed the congregation. Today, we gather not to dwell in sorrow, but to remember with love, and to honor those we lost. Sarah squeezed her eyes shut. Tom's face flashed before her, his easy smile, the way his eyes crinkled at the corners when he laughed. She could almost feel his hand in hers. Emily, bless her heart, was a whirlwind of nervous energy near the sound booth, fiddling with wires and adjusting microphones. She caught Sarah's eye and gave a small, reassuring wave. Sarah managed a weak smile in return. Emily was doing her best, and Sarah appreciated her efforts more than words could say. The service progressed. Prayers were offered, hymns were sung, and memories were shared. Each word, each note, was a sharp reminder of what Sarah had lost. Her heart ached with a familiar, dull throb. Finally, Pastor O'Connell announced a moment of silence. Let us now observe a moment of silence in remembrance of those who perished on September 11th, and for all those who continue to suffer the consequences of that day. A hush fell over the church, so profound it felt almost tangible. Sarah bowed her head, her knuckles white as she gripped the pew in front of her. She tried to focus on her breathing, to block out the memories that threatened to overwhelm her. Then, a loud crackle ripped through the silence. It was followed by a high-pitched whine that made everyone in the church jump. Emily gasped audibly from the sound booth. Pastor O'Connell frowned, his brow furrowed in concern. Before anyone could react, a voice filled the sanctuary. Hey, it's Mom. Just wanted to see if you needed anything from the store. It was Mrs. Davison, the church secretary, clear as day. A collective murmur rippled through the congregation. People exchanged confused glances. Then, another voice. Sarah, it's Carol. Lunch tomorrow still on? This one was followed by a quick, embarrassed apology from Carol herself in the pews. Sarah's stomach plummeted. She knew what was happening, what was about to happen. Her hands started to shake uncontrollably. She squeezed her eyes tighter, willing it to stop, but it was no use. The voices continued, each one a snippet of a life lived, a conversation held, a moment captured. Birthday greetings, reminders about appointments, silly jokes, a cacophony of ordinary sounds, amplified and broadcast to the entire church. The tension in the air was palpable. People were starting to understand. This wasn't just a technical glitch, this was something deeply personal, something exposed. Sarah felt a wave of nausea wash over her. She wanted to disappear, to crawl under the pew and hide. This was her worst nightmare come true, a private grief made public. And then it came. A slightly muffled voice, laced with static, but instantly recognizable. Hey, sweetheart, it's me. Just calling to say I'm running a little late. Meeting's dragging on. I love you, okay? I'll see you tonight. A pause then. Tell Katie goodnight for me. The air in the church seemed to thicken, to solidify. Every breath caught in every throat. The ordinary words, the simple declaration of love, hung in the air like a fragile ornament. Another pause, longer this time, filled only with static. Then, a faint sound, almost imperceptible. The unmistakable rumble of something huge. And finally, Tom's voice again, strained now, tinged with an urgency that sent a shard of ice through Sarah's heart. Sarah? Something's happening. The line went dead. A voice from the tower. The ghost of a dial tone dissolved, yielding to Tom's voice. Not the polished man of her memories, but something fractured, raw, and riddled with a terror that gnawed at Sarah's composure. Sarah, it's awful. Truly awful. The church hushed, every rustle and cough swallowed by the sudden stillness, leaving only the static-laced voice pulsing from the speakers. Ice water seemed to flood Sarah's veins, her carefully built defenses threatening to crumble. Something struck the North Tower. I can't explain it. Smoke, everywhere, screams. It's like a nightmare come to life. The phrases came in broken shards, punctuated by the distant, mournful crescendo of sirens. Sarah squeezed her eyes shut, begging for silence, for a rewind, for the reality to be a bad dream. The voice pressed on, a spectral presence resurrected with agonizing publicity. I tried earlier, but the lines are down. I don't even know if this will get through. A sob, choked and muffled, reached her ears. God, Sarah, I'm so deeply sorry. I'm so sorry. Beside her, Clara's breath hitched, her hand flying upward. All around, heads dipped low, tears freely spilled. The community's shared grief, usually a warm embrace, turned into a crushing weight. Remember Maine? The lighthouse? You were breathtaking. The wind playing in your hair. I should have told you more often. Said everything I felt. His timbre softened, a spark of the old Tom igniting within the darkness. And Hope, tell her I loved her before she existed. That I would have traded anything to hold her, to just see her. Sarah's nails drew blood from her palms. Hope. The name, a cruel reminder of a stolen future, of dreams vaporized. A sound tore from her, a guttural cry that shocked even herself. The recording popped again, the incessant hacking coughs increasing in volume. The background swelled into a hellish orchestra of alarms and shouting. Tom's voice weakened, a strained whisper. I don't think I'm getting out, Sarah. This smoke, it's hard to breathe. Nausea crested inside her. She clutched the pew, her knuckles bone white. The air in the sanctuary thinned, mirroring the very air Tom was fighting for. But I'm not afraid. Not really. I have faith. I have faith I'm going somewhere better now. Where there's only peace. The voice faltered, yet rallied, finding strength. I'll be waiting, Sarah. Waiting for you, for hope. Just live, okay? Be happy. Don't let this destroy you. An agonizing silence stretched, filled only with crackling static. Then, in a final surge, Tom's voice roared back, infused with a boundless love that defied the terror and the chaos. I love you, Sarah. More than words can say. Goodbye, my love. The recording ceased abruptly, leaving a chasm in the church's stillness. The gravity of his last words pressed down, a grief she had painstakingly learned to manage now magnified beyond bearing. This was different. This was a voice from the inferno, a message from beyond the veil, a tragic love letter carried on smoke and fire. She opened tear-streaked eyes, seeing only a blur of sorrowful, sympathetic faces. Clara's hand, a quiet promise of support, rested on her arm. Yet Sarah felt utterly isolated, drowning within a sea of shared sorrow, yet separated by the excruciating intimacy of Tom's final moments. The minister shuffled forward, his features ashen. Let us observe a moment of silence. He stumbled, his voice thick with unshed tears. Sarah bowed her head, but the silence offered no solace. Tom's words echoed relentlessly, a torturous loop of affection and loss. She knew, with chilling certainty, that she would never be free of that voice, never escape the message from the tower. It was indelibly etched into her soul, a constant, agonizing reminder of love extinguished and a life cruelly snatched away. And as the silence deepened, she wondered if she could ever claw her way back into the light. Lullaby and static. His voice, roughened by years of smoke and stress, turned unexpectedly gentle. Then, a fragile, sweet melody emerged from the speakers, a lullaby. Sleep now, my darling, the day is done, a new day is waiting, with the rising sun. Dream sweet, dream deep, let worries fade away, tomorrow's a promise, a brighter, brand new day. A sob clawed at Sarah's throat. That melody. He used to lull her to sleep with it, back when their cramped apartment felt like the whole world, overflowing with love and whispered dreams. His soft humming, the gentle strokes through her hair, easing every knot of tension. It had been years. Not since that morning. Her fingers gripped the pew ahead, its smooth surface a meager anchor against the rising tide of grief. A theme of hope, of clean slates, of the quiet assurance that dawn always follows the darkest night. A song for hope. The recording faltered, the lullaby straining against the encroaching static. Tom's voice, achingly familiar still, began to disintegrate. Sleep now, my dee. A burst of interference silenced him momentarily. Then, strained, hurried. Darling, the day. Abruptly, silence. The lullaby was brutally severed, replaced by a roar of white noise that thrummed through the church's very bones. A deep, rasping static, punctuated by sharp clicks and pops, a digital death knell. It was the sound of disintegration, of connections broken, of a life cut short. Pastor Michael, face ashen, wrestled with the controls, killing the recording. But the ensuing quiet was even heavier, more profound. A silence thick with unspoken pain, with the burden of shared loss, with the ghost of an unfinished song. Sarah squeezed her eyes shut, the image of Tom, young and vital, singing that lullaby, seared into her mind. She tasted ash, a phantom echo of that terrible day. Around her, soft sniffles and stifled sobs filled the air. A woman a few rows ahead wept openly, her body shaking. Beside her, a man, his face a road map of sorrow, squeezed her hand in silent sympathy. Sarah remained paralyzed, unable to draw a breath. The lullaby, intended as balm, had instead reopened a wound barely beginning to scar. It had laid bare the raw, throbbing nerves of her sorrow, leaving her exposed and aching. She longed to scream, to rail against the unfairness, to rewind time, to give hope back her father. But she was mute with grief. All she could do was sit, drowning in the suffocating silence, each memory a sliver of glass in her heart. Daniel shifted beside her, ill at ease. He wanted to offer solace, but knew words would fail. He simply placed a hand on her arm, a quiet offering of support. She didn't react, her gaze fixed on the space before her. Lost in the static, lost in the broken melody, lost in the phantom of a life unrealized. The church, typically a refuge, now felt like a mausoleum, echoing with memories and haunted by stolen love. The weight of it threatened to overwhelm her. She had to escape. She needed air. She had to flee the stifling silence and the agonizing lullaby before they devoured her whole. A gift, not a curse. Emily Carter, a tangle of auburn curls and blotchy skin, descended on Sarah with the force of a repentant squall. "Mrs. Miller, I'm so deeply sorry. I never considered. I just assumed everyone wanted to hear. I should have asked permission. Oh heavens, I bungled this completely." She twisted her fingers, the whisper of her silk blouse amplified in the sudden hush that followed the service. Still adrift in the wake of the lullaby's emotional tsunami, Sarah observed the young woman's distress with surprising equanimity. Her tears had dried, leaving a taut, unfamiliar sensation on her face. A loop of Tom, younger, lighter, crooning that daft tune to their phantom child, ran endlessly in her mind's eye. "Emily," Sarah managed, her voice a steady anchor in the storm within. She reached out, closing her fingers around Emily's quivering hand in a reassuring clasp. "It's all right, child. It's all right." Emily's gaze, huge and glistening with unshed tears, sought absolution in Sarah's expression. "But the song, it was terrible, wasn't it? I only compounded the grief." Sarah offered a subtle shake of her head, a ghost of a smile playing on her lips. "No, Emily. You didn't worsen anything. You gave me something unexpected." She couldn't quite define the gift yet, but the vice around her chest had loosened, replaced by a nascent, unfamiliar lightness. "I don't understand," Emily breathed, her voice thick with emotion. Sarah guided her away from the church steps, toward the small park across the way, where the setting sun stretched long shadows across the meticulously kept grass. They settled onto a park bench, the chill of the iron a grounding sensation beneath Sarah's restless legs. "The voicemails," Sarah started, her voice barely audible. "I was so afraid to listen. I feared they would shatter me. That they would only magnify the emptiness." She hesitated, collecting her thoughts, the cheerful din of children at play forming a distant, comforting backdrop. Today was the first time I'd ever heard the lullaby. When it cut off, mid-phrase, it felt like reliving that final moment, all over again. The image seared her mind, Tom's features fixed in time, eternally boyish, eternally beyond her grasp. "But then," Sarah continued, her voice gaining resonance, "a realization dawned. That song, that fragment of a life unlived, it wasn't a curse, Emily. It was a lifeline. She met Emily's gaze, her own filled with quiet conviction. It was Tom, reaching across the divide, reminding me that even faced with the unimaginable, he clung to hope. He still dared to dream. She inhaled deeply, the crisp autumn air filling her lungs. Tom always possessed a knack for finding beauty, even in the most mundane. Remember that disastrous camping trip where it rained the entire time? Emily's features softened in a tentative smile. I don't think I knew you back then, Mrs. Miller. Oh, right. Sarah chuckled softly. Well, the skies opened. Relentlessly. The tent sprang leaks, the fire refused to light, and I was thoroughly miserable. I was ready to cut our losses and drive home, but Tom simply grinned. He donned his raincoat, took my hand, and dragged me out into the downpour. He showed me how the rain transformed the leaves into crystal jewels, how the mushrooms sprouted overnight, how the forest floor exhaled the scent of damp earth and raw life. He transformed a washout into an adventure. That was simply his way. Sarah's gaze drifted towards the horizon, to the spectral absence where the towers had once pierced the sky. He always insisted that even on the blackest night, a star still shone somewhere. One simply had to seek it out. Emily reached out, her fingers closing around Sarah's in a gesture of solidarity. He sounds like an extraordinary man, Mrs. Miller. He was, Sarah affirmed, her voice imbued with a quiet pride. He had his quirks, of course. He discarded his socks with abandon, he bellowed off-key in the shower, and punctuality eluded him. But he was also the most generous, empathetic, and optimistic soul I have ever known. And that is what I choose to carry with me. The sun dipped lower, painting the heavens in vibrant strokes of apricot and violet. Sarah rose, a renewed sense of direction solidifying within her. Thank you, Emily, she stated, her voice clear and firm. For everything you've done. Emily looked up, her eyes reflecting a deep respect. What will you do now, Mrs. Miller? Sarah smiled, a genuine smile that lit her eyes from within. I think, she declared, I shall go home and bake an apple pie. Tom possessed an insatiable appetite for my apple pie. And perhaps, just perhaps, I'll finally brave the rest of those messages. The idea no longer inspired dread, but anticipation, a quiet confidence that somewhere within those recordings, she would discover more fragments of Tom, more echoes of the love they shared, a love that even death proved powerless to extinguish. Apple pies of hope. Golden light, courtesy of the sunrise, spilled into the kitchen, nudging aside the night's gloom. Sarah moved with a revived sense of purpose, Tom's final message having sparked not just sorrow, but a resilient hope deep within her. She retrieved the time-worn recipe box, its edges softened by years of cherished use. Inside, nestled amongst the stained index cards, awaited Tom's mother's apple pie recipe. A solitary tear slipped down her cheek, not from grief's sting, but a poignant joy, a tangible connection to the past, a guiding star for her future. Soon, the comforting fragrance of cinnamon and nutmeg wove through the house, a warm embrace in every corner. Sarah hummed softly, her hands moving with the practiced ease born from countless bakes, peeling and slicing the apples. Every pie became a testament to her spirit, each a golden tribute to Tom's lasting impact. She baked dozens. Enough to share with everyone at church, each a sweet offering of solace and optimism. Later that morning, a different current thrummed through the church. The air felt lighter, the oppressive weight of sorrow diminished. Even Pastor Michael O'Connell, usually a beacon of serenity, seemed a little flustered, murmuring about malfunctioning microphones and a jumbled bulletin. Spotting Sarah, he offered a thankful smile, the worry etched on his face softening. After the service, in the fellowship hall, the pies took center stage. Children squealed with delight, reaching for slices, their faces soon dusted with sugary crumbs. Elderly couples swapped reminiscences, their voices gaining a renewed warmth. Even those who had remained reserved during the service seemed to open up, their eyes reflecting a flicker of something brighter. From her quiet corner, Sarah's heart swelled. She noticed Mrs. Henderson, widowed the previous year, sharing a slice with young Timmy, whose father served overseas. She saw Mr. Johnson, a taciturn Vietnam vet, deep in conversation with a group of teenagers. The apple pies were more than just a dessert. They became a bridge, a pathway to connection and healing. Tom's message of hope, given substance through Sarah's compassionate act, created a chain reaction, spreading comfort and kindness through the community. An unfamiliar sensation washed over her. Not the sharp, piercing ache of mourning she'd become accustomed to, but a gentle warmth, a quiet certainty. Tom wasn't truly gone. He lived on in the children's laughter, the shared tales, the soothing scent of spiced apples. He resided in the love that bound them all together. For the first time in what felt like forever, Sarah felt a sense of tranquility. The weight on her chest remained, but it felt less crushing, more bearable. She was no longer alone in her sorrow. She was embraced by a community that understood her pain, shared her hope, and cherished her love for Tom. As the last pie vanished and the hall began to empty, Pastor Michael approached. He clasped her hand, his eyes brimming with emotion. "Sarah," he said, his voice thick with gratitude, "you've bestowed a gift upon us all today. The gift of hope, the gift of love, the gift of Tom." Sarah smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile. "He would have wanted this," she replied softly. "He always believed in the strength of togetherness, the power of love." Walking home as twilight painted elongated shadows, Sarah felt a sense of resolution she hadn't dared to imagine. These apple pies, baked with devotion and infused with Tom's spirit, had nourished not only the bodies, but also the souls of her community. They were vehicles of optimism, a reminder that even in the darkest hours, love persists, and healing finds a way. A legacy of love. The years softened Sarah's sorrow, rounding its sharp edges into a gentler, more bearable pain. Willow Creek Lane, once echoing with the hollowness of grief, now thrummed with the quiet music of everyday moments. Hope, no longer the toddler clutching a worn toy, was a young woman whose features echoed Tom's kindness. The antiquated phone, a tangible artifact of a life shattered too soon, rested in a velvet-lined case tucked into Sarah's closet. She hadn't touched it since entrusting its digital contents to the memorial fund. Yet Hope knew of its presence. She had discerned the subtle way her mother's gaze would occasionally drift toward the closet, a fleeting shadow of anguish crossing her face. One crisp autumn evening, while Sarah attended a parish meeting, Hope felt an undeniable pull toward the closet. The box seemed to vibrate with the echoes of the past, a silent invitation. She retrieved it, her hands trembling slightly as she opened it. The phone lay cradled inside, its screen dark and inert. She hesitated, torn. One part of her yearned to slam the lid shut, to bury the past and shield herself from the inevitable surge of sadness. But a more compelling force drove her to connect with the father she scarcely recalled, to hear his voice, to truly know the man whose absence had defined her life. Taking a steadying breath, she fetched a charger from the kitchen and plugged it in. The screen flickered, then bloomed to life, displaying an interface from another era. Heart pounding, she navigated to the voicemail icon. There it was, one unheard message. She pressed play. Static crackled, then Tom's voice filled the space. "Sarah, my love, it's me. Things aren't good here. But I need you to know. I'm at peace. I'm thinking of you both, you and Hope. Remember our dream? The apple tree? Plant it, sweetheart. Plant it for me. Let hope climb its branches and reach for the stars. Tell her my love for her is boundless. And you, my darling Sarah, you are my everything. My solace, my beloved, my safe harbor. I'll be waiting. Don't let grief steal your joy, Sarah. Embrace it. Live fully. For us both." His voice cracked, a suppressed sob before the line went silent. Hope sat paralyzed, tears tracing paths down her cheeks. Not the robust, assured voice she recognized from faded photographs. This was a voice laid bare, stripped of pretense, yet brimming with unyielding love and conviction. Understanding dawned. She understood the immensity of her mother's bereavement, and the profound strength she had gleaned from Tom's final testament. When Sarah returned, she discovered Hope seated on the floor, the phone clutched tight, eyes brimming with tears. "Hope? What's wrong, darling?" Sarah's voice trembled with anxiety. Hope looked up, her tear-filled gaze meeting her mother's. "I heard it, Mom. I listened to Dad's message." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. "Oh, honey." Hope rose and approached her mother, offering the phone. "He loved us so much, Mom. Incredibly much. And he believed. He truly believed." Sarah accepted the phone, her fingers caressing its worn edges. She didn't require a replay. The message was forever imprinted on her soul, a constant reminder of the love she had lost too soon. However, witnessing the comprehension in Hope's eyes, the realization that her daughter now genuinely grasped the depth of their shared sorrow and the enduring power of Tom's devotion, unleashed a new torrent of emotion. They held each other close, mother and daughter, their tears intermingling, a silent communion of sorrow and affection. In that instant, past and present converged, and Tom's presence felt tangible, a comforting embrace enfolding them both. The following day, Sarah devoted herself to baking apple pies. Not just a few, but dozens upon dozens. The fragrant essence of cinnamon and warm apples permeated the house, a familiar aroma that had evolved into a symbol of love and restoration. She delivered them to the church, to the solitary elderly woman, to the struggling young family. Each pie was a silent offering, a heartfelt expression of Tom's undying spirit, a gentle reminder that even in the face of profound devastation, love could still flourish. She also began planting apple trees. One in her own backyard, just as Tom had longed for, and others in the gardens of friends and neighbors. Each spring, the trees would burst into bloom, their delicate white blossoms a testament to hope and renewal. Sarah never remarried. Her life diverged from the past she had envisioned, the future she and Tom had dreamed of together. Yet it was a fulfilling life, rich with purpose and love. She had rediscovered joy, just as Tom had implored. Not the light-hearted joy of her youth, but a deeper, more resonant joy, forged from resilience and an unwavering faith in the transformative power of love. Her life became a living tribute to Tom's memory, an enduring testament to his faith and abiding love. The pies, the trees, the unwavering support she offered her community, these were her enduring love letters to a man she would forever cherish, a man whose final words had not only shattered her heart but had also shown her how to piece it back together, one apple pie, one tree, one act of compassion at a time.